She said I wasn't attractive after losing my job, so I let her walk away. A month later, she saw my penthouse on Instagram and texted, "I miss us. I'm 31, and for 3 years, I was in what I thought was a steady, loving relationship with a woman named Isabella. We lived together in a modest 2-bedroom apartment, shared groceries, movie nights, and lazy Sunday mornings. We were that couple everyone around us considered solid, predictable in the best way. I worked as a software developer, pulling in a decent income, nothing lavish but enough to keep us comfortable. I paid for most things not because she asked me to, but because I believe that's what you do when you're building a life with someone you love. We weren't flashy, but we were stable, and I honestly thought stability was what she wanted too. 2 months ago, my entire world shifted. 2 events collided in the same week that shattered everything I knew. First, my grandfather passed away. He wasn't just a grandfather, he was my role model, a self-made man who built a small real estate empire from nothing. I was his only grandchild, and he loved me fiercely. His death hit me like a train. The week of the funeral was a blur of paperwork, condolences, and sleepless nights. Isabella was there, but she was distant, physically present, emotionally checked out. She held my hand at the funeral, but her eyes were somewhere else entirely. Just 5 days after the funeral, life decided to hit me again. I was sitting at my desk, trying to catch up on work emails, when my boss called me into his office. The look on his face said everything before he even spoke. The company was restructuring, and my entire department was being laid off. Just like that, my job, my stability, my routine gone. I walked home that evening feeling like I was dragging the weight of the world on my back. When I got home, Isabella was watching a show on the couch. I sat beside her, took a deep breath, and told her everything. I thought she'd hug me. I thought she'd say, "We'll figure it out." Instead, she went quiet. Not the processing everything kind of quiet, but the cold, calculating kind. Her eyes shifted slightly, and I could almost hear the gears turning in her head. That's when I knew something inside her had changed. The next evening, I was sitting on the couch with my laptop, scrolling through job listings, when she said the words that would burn themselves into my memory forever. "We need to talk." Her voice was flat, not angry, not sad, just detached. I closed my laptop slowly and looked at her. She let out a long, overly dramatic sigh and then said, "You're just not attractive anymore." At first, I thought I misheard her. I asked, "What do you mean?" And she gestured around at me. At my laptop, the job sites on the screen, the tired circles under my eyes. "This," she said, "it's just not attractive. The stress, the unemployment, I'm attracted to ambition, to success. And right now, you're not that." It was like being stabbed and watching the blade twist slowly. My grandfather had just died. I had just lost my job. And the woman I loved decided that was her cue to leave. No compassion, no comfort. Just a clinical decision, as if she were closing a business deal. My worth, in her eyes, had been completely tied to my paycheck. Something inside me snapped. Not in anger, in clarity. The kind of cold, quiet clarity that comes when you finally see the truth of someone. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I just nodded and said, "By then." That calmness made her furious. She wanted a scene. Tears, pleas, promises that I'd change. Instead, I gave her nothing. She slammed drawers and packed boxes for hours, muttering under her breath, trying to provoke me. I just sat there, silent. She had no idea that the day before, my grandfather's lawyer had called me and told me that my grandfather had left his entire estate to me. The valuation was still in progress, but the number he mentioned made my heart stop. I was suddenly a very wealthy man, but I kept that information to myself. My grief was real. My job loss was real, but my bank account was about to look nothing like she imagined. She thought she was walking away from a washed-up loser. In reality, she was walking away from a future she could never dream of. When she was done packing, she turned to me and said, "I hope you get back on your feet." It was the most fake thing I'd ever heard. I just replied, "I'll be fine." Then I closed the door behind her and locked it. The silence that followed was heavy, but peaceful. 3 days later, the first sign of trouble came. A $5,000 charge popped up on my credit card, a luxury handbag store. She still had access to the joint emergency card. I reported it as fraud immediately, got it canceled, and sent her a screenshot. My message was simple. I assume this was a mistake. The card has been reported. Her reply was instant rage. You can't just cut me off like that. I need things. I didn't reply. I forwarded the whole conversation to my lawyer, who was already handling my grandfather's estate. He advised me to document everything and cease all contact. Days later, she started demanding compensation, claiming I owed her for the years of emotional labor. Her best friend Jenna joined in, calling me a deadbeat. I ignored them both. Meanwhile, probate cleared, and my grandfather's estate became mine officially. The amount sitting in my account was more than I could comprehend. I decided to start fresh. I found a stunning penthouse downtown with a skyline view that took my breath away. I hired a designer, bought new furniture, and built a home office that looked like it belonged in a magazine. It wasn't about revenge, it was about rebirth. I was creating a life on my own terms, one she'd never be part of. When everything was set up, I posted a picture on my private Instagram. The city lights sparkled beneath my balcony. A glass of whiskey sat on the table. The caption was simple, "New chapter." Within an hour, my phone buzzed. It was a number I didn't recognize. The text said, "I miss us." I just stared at it, laughing quietly to myself. Of course she did. She didn't miss me. She missed what I represented, the comfort, the security, the lifestyle. I took a screenshot of the message and never replied. That screenshot still lives in my favorites folder to this day. Her "I miss us" text was just the beginning of a full-blown desperation spiral. By the next morning, my inbox was flooded, messages from her, from Jenna, even from her mother. All with the same script. She made a mistake. She was scared. She misses you. I stayed silent. The more I ignored them, the more desperate they became. That weekend, I bought myself the car I dreamed about since I was a teenager. A sleek, black sports car. I posted a picture of it in my new garage. The following night, I attended a charity gala my grandfather used to support. I wore a tailored tuxedo and posted a photo with the caption, "For him." A week later, karma decided to deliver the final act in person. I was out with friends at a trendy downtown restaurant when Isabella walked in. The look on her face when she saw me, confident, happy, surrounded by people, was priceless. She walked over, trying to mask her shock with that same sugar-coated smile. "Hey," she said, her hand lightly touching my shoulder. "Fancy seeing you here." My friends fell silent. They knew everything. I looked up, calmly. "What do you want, Isabella?" "Just to talk," she replied softly, ignoring everyone around us. "Privately." "No," I said flatly. "We have nothing to talk about." Her smile faltered. "Don't be like this. I know I messed up." Panicked. "You lost your job, and I didn't know how to handle it. I should have had more faith in you." I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "Faith in me or faith in my grandfather's money?" Her face went pale. "That's not fair," she whispered. "Isn't it?" I replied calmly. "You didn't have faith when you walked out on me 2 months ago. You said I wasn't attractive anymore. So tell me, did my new apartment suddenly make me attractive again?" Her voice rose as her composure crumbled. People were starting to stare. I leaned in slightly and said, "You're embarrassing yourself. Walk away." She refused. "We were together for 3 years. You can't just throw that away." "I didn't throw it away," I said coldly. "You did. You gambled that I'd stay broke and miserable. You lost that bet. Now live with it." She stood there for a moment, frozen, before turning and storming out. My friends burst into awkward laughter, but I just sat back, calmly finishing my meal. Weeks later, I got a call from a man named Kevin, someone who introduced himself as Isabella's new boyfriend. He sounded nervous but grateful. He told me Isabella had spun a tale about me being a gambling addict who lost everything, and that he'd been financially supporting her. Then he saw a local magazine article featuring recent high-end real estate purchases, with my name listed beside the penthouse. That's when he realized she'd been lying. He kicked her out that morning. He called to thank me for indirectly saving him from the same trap I once fell into. I told him, "You don't owe me thanks. You just dodged a bullet." That was the last I heard of Isabella. From what I gathered, she moved back in with her parents after Kevin cut her off. Every bridge she tried to build back to her old life had burned. She played the game, but the house always wins, especially when the house learns the rules. Today, my life is peaceful. I started a small consulting firm with a few former colleagues, and it's already thriving. My penthouse feels like a sanctuary, floor-to-ceiling windows, a skyline that reminds me how far I've come, and a quiet that feels earned. Sometimes, late at night, I pour myself a glass of whiskey, look out at the city lights, and smile. Not out of arrogance, but relief. Because in the end, her words didn't break me. They built me. New chapter. I whisper to myself, and this time, I mean it. Like, share, and subscribe if you believe that sometimes, the best revenge is silence and a view from the top.